Okay, hello everyone. This is Chad Broshears, the owner and founder of Go Figure Holistic Personal Training, and I'm here with another video for you. Today's video is actually about the ego and how in my studies and my understandings and in my teachings is that it's actually a vastly misunderstood thing. Eastern philosophy likes to bastardize the ego in the sense that it says that it's unnecessary or there's always open to interpretation, by the way. I want to make sure that that's really clear. The interpretation that I commonly get about people and their reaction towards the ego is that the ego is something negative. It's this thing you have to kill off. Eckhart Tolle himself says that die to the ego, that the ego is something that's unnecessary and all the rest of this. To give it to you short and sweet on my perspective of the ego is the subconscious mind communicating with the conscious mind with the intention of releasing or to acknowledge an area that's been suppressed in your life. So as an example of this is like as a child you may be told, or you have been told, I'm sure most people have been, to be good, to be nice, a lot of these different things. And what the understanding from that, people are building this belief that they're supposed to be nice rather than be nice because they want to. And then they get the suppressive personality, which is they don't really acknowledge what's bothering them. People will tell them to get it together, things like that. You know, our society basically supports this understanding that the ego is wrong and that you should suppress things commonly. Suppress this, suppress that. Even whenever we get into therapies and things like that, people go after this suppression technique. And I'm not an advocate for suppression. I believe that we really should address whatever it is that we feel is out of balance. So in the sense of the ego, it's like a best friend for you. It's a warning sign for you. It's a beautiful opportunity to recognize that something is suppressed and something's out of balance, and it's time to do something about it. If you continue to step over it, it's not going to go away. It's why the ego consistently is there. So with that, and I'll expand on this further in detail later on as well. This is just a quick impromptu conversation about the ego and also the book that I'm writing, which is In Defense of the Ego. Because to me, it's an essential building block. It's there, again, just to let you know where you're out of balance. And how to restore balance is to address what you're suppressing. And the more we become suppressive types, because our society is predominantly a suppressive type society, in the sense that we tell people that, like political correctness. Right? There's value to political correctness because it's about respecting others, but at the same time, you don't want to suppress what's there. So you're not going to stop being a racist because you suppress things. You stop being a racist by understanding and connecting and accepting somebody else for everything they are and for everything they're not, and getting that they're a human being just like you are. But if you suppress it, you're not going to get rid of it. If you're told that you're wrong or that there's something wrong with that, then you're going to subconsciously react and retaliate, where people have all these inward-born conversations about differences and affirmative action and all of these things that are just there to just get us to stop being connected. Now, they're not purposely designed to keep us from being connected. It's a reaction to try to correct something in the sense that these people don't understand how to correct it. So they do the best thing they can, which is tell you what to do or what not to do, like a parent would do with us. And it's not a tribal elder thing. It's actually a distance from a fact of a tribal elder, because they're not connecting with you when they tell you not to do something. So you suppress, and you live your life suppressed, as most people do. And that's what causes your ego to do what it does. Now, that's just the psychological and emotional side of it, predominantly psychological, because the emotional side occurs from a psychological understanding, typically. As far as the physical body goes, if somebody does something to you or says something to you that's upsetting, get that it's not really about you directly. They're dealing with something in their life. So you may have that person that just seems to be so egoically centered. We'll use that word right now because it's just a defined word that we can understand from. So they're egoically centered. If their gut's unhealthy, they're going to be egoically centered to a degree that their body inherently knows that something's out of balance and they have to do something to restore their balance. A real simple idea about this would be understanding that if there's 3 pieces of fruit, there's 4 days left in this particular area, you sharing that fruit with somebody else restricted to the area with you would be the same as both of you starving for the last couple of days. Well, the ego and your body recognizes that there's nutrients needed to survive if you know there's so many days left to go before you're allowed to be released. So you're going to do what you can to preserve your own life. That's the ego is there for the hunger conversation. But as far as the conversation about as a whole, if your gut's unhealthy, you're going to be more reptilian in nature because that's our design. We have 3 brains. I won't go into it so far other than just to introduce what they are. You have the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and then you have the human brain. The reptilian brain reacts just the same as a reptile does. It's very me-oriented. Reptiles don't get along well in nature unless they're there or they have restricted space. They still fight, but they're not there as a pack animal. They do not function as a pack animal. That's a mammalian that functions as a pack animal. So the reptilian brain wants you to preserve life. So it's going to do everything it can for you to preserve yourself. That's territorial land, that's food, that's the right to mate. There's all of these different things. So if the gut's unhealthy or another aspect of your body is unhealthy, you're going to want to revert back to what it takes to restore health. So if you step over it with this idea that you're not supposed to do this, you may reduce psychological stress, but you have done nothing to address directly physiological stress. Yes, physiological stress is followed with and affected by psychological stress, but the physiological body is not being healed. So, like, say if you have cancer and you're running around in the cancer ward trying to save everybody else and not doing what it takes for you to actually heal yourself, you're going to cause dysfunction and problems. You're going to make yourself worse. You're not going to make yourself better. So the ego is there to help us reestablish our balance. By the way, just so you know, and this is another note, and this will be the end of this particular video, and that is that the Dalai Lama has an ego. I have an ego. Pretty much everything on Earth, and over 7.5 billion people roughly, have egos. Now there are, according to Yogananda, I'm pretty sure it's Yogananda, if not it's Osho, but there's 1 in 7 billion people that actually get to the point of a God body, or where they get complete oh wow, I've lost the word here. They have ascended beyond self, where they actually can fully express unconditional love, which means that they have no conditions for loving you, and that means you do no right, you do no wrong, there's nothing there. They just love you no matter what. And they also don't even recognize the separation of themselves from you. That is unconditional love, which has no barriers. There's not a sin. There's nothing that can exist inside of unconditional love. That's 1 in 7 billion people, roughly. That's the rate of ascension that people have achieved, spiritual ascension, and still being in a physical body. So that's according to, again, it's I believe it's either Yogananda or Osho. I'm sweating a little bit here because it's kind of hot out. So as far as that goes, if you want to actually get past some of the things that are driving you, another reference you'll hear me make in the future is mental hijack, or mental hijacking, which is whenever you get excited emotionally and you do things, and then later on you look back and like, I can't believe I did that. I'm kind of embarrassed by it, or I really wasn't in control. I just lost my mind. That's a mental hijacking. If you suppress too much and that moment comes up that's caused you to suppress, and it's just that I just can't take it anymore moment, that's where you get mentally hijacked. And we have a lot of those in our lives that kind of eliminate the opportunity for understanding free will, because you don't really have free will at that moment anymore. So I'll expand on all of this, by the way. The more that you want, comment below or message me or email me. Hell, even if you have my phone number, give me a call, and I'll happily expand on any of this. Again, I'm writing a book called In Defense of the Ego, and it really is a valuable tool in my perspective, in my belief, as far as evolving to our next ability or our next level of human existence. If we keep going the way we're going, we're going to end our own lives from a selfishness that we are avoiding completing on. And we're going to continue to suppress things, and suppression basically causes war. So the more you suppress things, the more agitated you get. The more agitated you get, the more likely you are to act out. The more likely you are to act out against a repressive agent, someone stopping you or whatever, then a fight breaks out. And if you don't win the fight, or you do win the fight, there's a rebuttal. Anger and hostility will never create peace. It's not the method that we actually have. The insanity of it is that you can look at it from, you know, if you put two rhinos together and they breed, they're not going to have a giraffe. You know, so two wars or two battles that create a war is not going to create peace. It may temporarily, but it will create another battle. So you're not going to have a giraffe pop out of a rhino after they mate. It's just not going to happen. But that's the lunacy of the belief that we're going to create peace with war. It's not going to happen. So anyhow, I appreciate your time for watching this video, and I look forward to hearing about your thoughts on this. So again, it's Chad Broshears, the owner and founder of Go Figure Holistic Personal Training, and also we're creating an institute, so you're going to find out more about that in the near future. Thank you guys. Enjoy.